Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Taylor Field from Geekverse Podcast. Yes, I am back. This is great. Not that I was going anywhere. I'm just saying I'm back because it's been like a week, and the last review I did was Chucky. So make sure you check that out. Also, check out our Toy Story 4 review that Travis did himself. But this is awesome because I am here reviewing the latest addition to the Conjuring universe, and that is Annabelle Comes Home. Yes, that is true, and as you know, we're going to start off with a brief non-spoilers review. So if you haven't seen the film, you can just pause this, exit it, go ahead, watch the film, come back, or if you don't give a flying foot, you can just chill out here and have a good time with me, and we'll talk Annabelle stories. So yeah, we got Annabelle that we're talking about. Not this movie that I'm holding up. In my hands, I got the Annabelle, which was the first Annabelle movie, but it is the second in the trilogy, which is really weird because they do the whole prequel trilogy sequel thing. But yeah, it is the anthology film in the Conjuring universe. So I'm trying to remember the last time I did a review for these films, and I believe I did The Nun. And I think I did Annabelle Creation as well. I'm pretty sure I did a review for that. And I can't remember if I did or did not do a review for The Conjuring 2. I don't think I did. But, these movies are always a good time. I really like what they bring to the table and what they bring just in terms of, like, jump scares and such. That being said, The Nun was not super good in my books. I like The Nun better in The Conjuring 2. But the Annabelle movies I really always have enjoyed, and I thought Annabelle Creation was really good and really freaky. I watched it the other day in anticipation for this movie. And that being said, this movie, it had a lot to do with jump scares, but there are a lot of times I feel like I could predict those moments that were coming, and the story from the trailers, it worried me what they were doing because I kind of thought, okay, well, if they're going to be going down this route, if you've seen the trailers, you're aware it has to do with a babysitter, and then everything, including Annabelle, kind of gets out of the safety room in the Warrens' house and terrorizes them, like a haunted mansion kind of thing. And I thought, okay, very intriguing story, like, I'm interested, but I hope they explain it in a very good way. I wanted there to be justification as to, how these things actually got out in the first place. And I felt like the movie did that. It presented a very, reasonable story that was believable and not just, out the window, just stupid points and reasons why these things just happened. But it was logical. And I feel like it took a lot of different little subtleties from other films in the franchise. And I like that. Yeah, it really, really did get me. Now, when the movie ended, this is much of a spoiler, but the movie ended, and I always Google, I get on the Google, and I'm like, okay, post-credits scene, what do we got? There's nothing, there was nothing at the last movie I was at, and I thought, okay, there's gonna be one for this movie. I want my post-credit scenes, Maybe it's the Marvel that just kind of like, put this seed in my head that just gets me set up. I need the post-credits things. Like, I need it bad. And it was like Annabelle has a... well, it wasn't a post-credits scene. It was a... after, like, the main credits or something, there was a scene or something like that. And the credit roll, I think it was. And so that had ended. And I was like, okay, here's the scene. But then they actually cut the film, and the lights turned on. And I thought, oh, for fudge sakes, these movie theaters, I'm not digging what they're doing. I remember when I went to see Avengers, and they wouldn't even let us stay to the end because the guy comes out and he's like, there's no post-credit scene. Everyone please leave the theater. And then the credits just started rolling. It's just unbelievable. It's not like people are going to be eager to jump into the Annabelle showing at 10 o'clock at night, unless it's got like a huge following and it's tracking like really well this weekend, which, hopefully it does, because it wasn't, yeah. Yeah, that's my brief movie theater experience. Now that I've wasted about almost 5 minutes of your time, I'm actually going to dive into the spoiler part of the movie. So, in 3, 2, 1, Geekverse assemble, even though I'm the only geek for Geekverse right here, right now, so it's a little lonely, but if you haven't seen it, Spoilers are now happening. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Annabelle movie starts off where The Conjuring kind of begins, where the Warrens actually find the Annabelle doll and they take it away from the group of, I think they're like college students. They're all these like older, young adults kind of living together, and they agreed to let this demon possess the doll, and so the Warrens take the doll away, and basically it shows them on their trek to bring the doll back to their house. And the whole time you just feel a sense of eeriness about it. And so as they're driving, you can tell like they're trying to set you up with jump scares, and I like it when they succeed at these. You know, it plays on your mind because you know something's gonna happen, but it can be like Lorraine Warren holding a map up against the door window and of the car, and you're like, okay, something's gonna come around the other side, and as soon as she pulls the map away, you're gonna see something, and you're bracing for it. And the music, isn't like overly revealing in the sense where like, oh, nothing is there, but like she pulls the map down and nothing's there. And I thought, you know, that's great. It worked me up, and now I can feel myself calming down, but I know that they're gonna do something else real soon here, and it's gonna, my body, like they're playing with my body. And sure enough, you know, something else happens, and the body just starts to get the hairs on the neck. But it doesn't mean that, you know, it was like a scary scene. It's just this girl who was just in a car accident in the back seat saying, "I like your doll." And, you know, that's when you know shit's gonna hit the fucking fan, because you never want to hear those words, let me tell you. So, needless to say, the car that they were driving with Annabelle, the Warrens were in it, it broke down. And that's why she was looking at the map, and Ed Warren got out and was trying to fix the car, and he was taking his time a little bit, but this is where she learns, Lorraine learns that the doll is technically a conduit for other spirits, and she basically sees that, okay, there's a whole flock of spirits popping up everywhere, and one of these spirits grabs Ed in front of the car and throws him in the middle of the road, and a big semi-truck just comes out of nowhere. Luckily, he gets out of the way in time, but the guy comes out of the semi-truck and says, "Yo, oh, I'm so sorry, there was the briefest thing that I could not control my truck," you know, and that's when they realize, okay, this doll is very powerful, and other spirits are drawn to it, and so with that, they it shows them arriving home, and the priest is already there, and they go into the their special fun room, and they put Annabelle in this rocking chair, because Annabelle is all about the rocking chairs. She loves a rocker. So she's sitting in there, and then you can see things start to go a little upside down, topsy-turvy inside the fun room. So this is even after the priest has done his blessings. Ed gets the idea like, hey, do we still have some of that chapel window panels or the window glass from that chapel? And Lorraine's like, yep. And so they get the glass cabinet that we are familiar with of her being in, which I don't think is no, they don't show it on this case, but yeah, so they put Annabelle in there, do a blessing, and as soon as they close the door, everything stops. So this is like a double whammy barrier keeping that thing contained in there. You know, it erases its existence in the outside world, and that's a good thing. That's what you want, because like they say, you know, these items that contain these entities and these spirits, they're trapped in these artifacts, and if you somehow destroy these artifacts, you're setting these things free. And as long as they're contained in these artifacts and quarantined in a proper area, it only makes sense that, you know, these things can be properly managed and properly detained, and not running off free rampant in the world, which is just, you can't have that. I mean, let's be honest here, can't have that. So we know that, yes, the Annabelle doll is in there, and then a year goes by, and so the daughter is a little bit older now, and this focuses heavily on their daughter, and we know that she's got a history with this doll, because in The Conjuring 2, you know, she has unfortunate experience with it, because it ends up, gosh, sorry, I keep yawning, and I apologize. Not enough oxygen to the brain or something, but yeah, so she has a not like a connection with this doll, but just kind of it's not. The doll is very probably like drawn to her. Like even when the Warrens were walking inside with the doll's head was already pre-turned and its eyes were looking upstairs at where the little girl was. Like this doll was planning its shit, you know, before he was or she was even in the demon was even, you know, on site. But yeah, a year goes by and everything's fine, everything's good, and then you learn that the girl is having issues at school, and it's a lot of like conflict going on with the. I guess it was the recent exorcism that went bad, and if I had to guess, I was thinking that that one was just after the first Conjuring, and I'm assuming this one's before the second Conjuring movie. I have to check the dates. I can't actually put my finger on it. But yeah, so the where was I? Yeah, so the little girl, she doesn't have too much connection with anybody, but she has a great babysitter, and the babysitter's name was Kelly Ann or Kelly Marie. I cannot remember. But she was a very, very nice babysitter, and you really root for her as a character in this. And she really, you know, she was trying to stick up for the little girl, make her feel better, and that's just great. Now we learn that, okay, the babysitter has a friend, and the friend is portrayed as a shit disturber. And this is how I wanted this to be done very carefully in a way that wasn't just nonsensical of this, you know, this babysitter's friend to just go along into this house and just let shit loose. You know, I didn't want that. I wanted an actual logical story that actually worked with this. And so I was pleasantly surprised, but very satisfied that that is the result I got. So the babysitter basically is at the house of the Warrens, you know, with the girl, and then her friend shows up and brings rollerblades to distract the girl and the babysitter to get them out of the house. So they go out of the house, and then she goes to find the room with all the funky, you know, the play stuff in it. And she goes and she finds the door, and it's bolted shut. And then she says, if there, the power, you know, on the other side of this door, help me unlock it or whatever. Which, you know, you don't be playing with this stuff. I don't know, like, okay, I'm not a girl. I've never been to these slumber parties, these Sweet 16 parties. I'm a guy, you know. I like to, you know, I like to come home, you know. I'd be doing that grade 10, grade 11, grade 12 maths all day, every day, and social studies, and I'd come home and I'd be playing my video games. I'd be chilling, you know. Oh, I'm gonna hang out with my friends. We're gonna get in a group party on Xbox. We're gonna play Modern Warfare 2, you know, do some special ops. That was my thing. I don't know what girls do, but you know, I'm kind of like, you know, if you've seen that South Park episode where the guys all get freaked out that the girls have a fortune teller and they don't know what goes on in, you know, those girls' slumber parties because it's freaky. You know, that was me. I was like, I don't know what goes on in those girls' slumber parties, you know, because girls, you know, they can do crazy stuff. And I just figured, you know, this girl, she's doing a crazy thing. You know, this is the curiosity stuff, you know, like, and the girl, you know, she went ahead and, you know, she couldn't unlock the door, but she didn't give up, and she found the key to the unlocking the door in the office. So she went back and she unlocked the door, and she's touching everything. I would not be touching everything. Voice crack. Oh, but she makes her way to the Annabelle doll, and she doesn't open it, but then she... Oh, God, that scared me. Sorry, I just hear singing. It's another my significant other in the house, and she's singing, and it just freaked me out for a moment. So she stands there, and she's like, if there's anything in this room, you know, please call out, whatever. And nothing does, but she hears a thud, and the Annabelle doll has like leaned forward on the glass, and it's still contained. I'm guessing somehow it probably could sense it, the girl, but it can't do anything. It's trapped. All it can do is lean forward and back, you know. That's the closest thing that she's got to her rocking chair in this little glass cabinet. She can just nudge forward and nudge back. So the girl goes and she unlocks the door, and she pulls the doll out, and she's looking at it, and something happens. What was it? Oh, they were baking cake upstairs, and the siren went off. She's like, "Oh no, I gotta get the cake out of the oven." So she put the doll back in, and she closed the door, but she didn't lock it. So when she left, the doll Annabelle leaned forward, and the front door slowly opened up, and the doll fell out. And it's like, well, shit, you know? You left the door open and the cat ran out of the house, and now you gotta go find the mother trucker, and that's gonna take a long time. Because they're, spry little guys, and that's like Annabelle. She's a spry little doll, and she's popping and bouncing around. So, that's how Annabelle got out. Now, they explain that she was there because she wasn't just trying to just contact spirits or, just have some kind of fun magical moment with a ghost or something like that. She was in a car accident with her dad. She was the one driving, and the dad died, and she feels responsible. And that there was just all the justification I needed for her to be reaching out and trying to find a way. She's just a teenager. She has no idea where to start or where to go or who to turn to for help in this regard, to just talk to her dad and just say you're sorry and all that stuff, which I thought it was a great story that really added to the character. It set up her vulnerabilities, it added to why and how she was possessed later on. But in this point in time, I thought it was a very good way to create her story and make it more developed. So another thing though that I will say is, whether you believe in ghosts or not, I think it's a very good thing to take into account that there are things out there that we don't understand. For one, to say, are there ghosts? Are there not? Are there aliens? There's not, It's sometimes always good to sit on the fence, because it can sometimes, when you take a stand at something or with something, then it may mean that you sacrifice your ability to be not sacrifice, but if you take a stand with something, you give up your ability to, or your point of view to be open or completely unbiased. It can be dangerous, So with that being said, not that I'm right and have all the answers, I don't, but there are some things in the world where you can't explain, but you want to be careful with. And if there's anything I've learned from watching these freaking horror movies, it's that you want to be careful who you're calling out or reaching out there. If you're standing in a crowd in the middle of the mall and you see your dad way down a few feet ahead of you, and you're calling out, "Dad, Dad, Dad," he's gonna hear you, but everyone else around you is gonna hear you too. And that's, again, exactly like they did in here. It's like what they did with Insidious. When you try calling out and you aren't doing it properly, that's when bad things happen. It's a much safer thing for, someone who is aware of these situations and has experience with them and how to be safe. Like, let's say, for example, now you want to talk to just your dad and not get the attention of all these other things that are around you, or all these other people, metaphorically, in the mall. You would use a cell phone. You could call your dad and just have a one-on-one with him, And that's the equivalent that I'm kind of going for here. You need to be careful, because if you're calling, chances are everything else is going to hear, is going to pick up on it and be drawn. Why are they drawn? Because we have things that they don't have anymore, or they never had in the first place, and that makes them dangerous and makes us strong, but that strength fades away because these are things that we don't understand. And these are things that, they scare us, and it depletes that strength over time, which again is a huge focus in the original Conjuring. And again, it happened here in Annabelle Comes Home with Daniela. It's these forces, deplete your will, and they really wear you out and wear you down and weaken you mentally, and that is when they can take you over. It's like what Ed Warren said in the first Conjuring, eventually these steps lead to possession. It's about beating you down so that they can possess you, not necessarily to take your soul, but to force you to do things. And it's a very dangerous thing. And not that I'm nowhere near saying that I'm like a demonology expert or anything like that, but if there's anything that I've learned from watching these movies, it's that you need to be careful who you're calling out to. You need to always ask for help. And you need to communicate. Because in this movie, they ain't communicating to each other. All that the Warren's daughter needed to do is just say, oh, I saw the Annabelle doll, we should go figure out what's going on, not wait till bedtime and go to sleep, and the babysitter tucks you in and sees the Annabelle doll and thinks, oh, it's just one of your creepy looking dolls, but it's okay, and tucks you into the bed. That's a big no. You talk. Communication is key to any relationship, ladies and gentlemen. Trust me. You want to talk, you want to have communique on all times. So now that I've got off that little tangent, the movie progresses and things are just going absolutely nuts. So now we have the Annabelle kind of just setting the stage. She's doing these little kind of hauntings where the babysitter goes to open the door, and you see Annabelle from the Annabelle creation, little girl, tapping on the wall, and then you can kind of see Daniela having a little bit of an experience, and then they introduced this new thing, this new spirit, and it was like a wedding dress lady. And so the Warren's daughter, she goes upstairs, and gave me like major goosebumps. I felt very like OG nun-like. So the little girl goes into the room, and she sees the wedding dress lady walking around the room, and you can see her walking. She walks like through a mirror, through the windows, and then she walks out through into the hallway into the other room, and then she's just there sideways, and she turns, and you see all this blood on one side, and then she picks up this knife, and I hate it when the bones go all weird looking, and she like cringes up, and then she starts like walking towards the girl. And this girl is brave. She whips up this cross and just starts praying and just, banishes it for a little bit, which is outstanding. Babysitter runs up there, is like, oh, what's going on? She's like, nothing, I just got spooked. And you don't say that. I get, though, that she said it because she doesn't know Annabelle is out and she has these visions and doesn't want to scare the babysitter, but at least she does tell her, that she can see dead people and stuff, and the babysitter says, not all ghosts are bad, which is, very reassuring, reaffirming, it's great. At this point, though, yes, Annabelle is out and is wreaking havoc, and so, what happens next? So, she ordered a pizza, and I like how they set this up, because when the doorbell was ringing earlier and it was little girl Annabelle at the door kind of deking and duking out the babysitter, it makes you think, okay, it's going to be a ghost this time. But when the babysitter goes to the door, you see like, oh, okay, no, it's just this guy she has a crush on, which they showed him earlier, Bob, what was his name? Bob Has Balls, or Bob with Balls, or something like that. And they're kind of crushing with each other. And Bob is a great character. Really, really enjoyed him. And he's so innocent. But he's on the door and he's like, hey, I know you were here babysitting. I just wanted to say hi and stuff. And then all of a sudden the pizza guy walks up behind him. And this pizza guy, he reminded me of Napoleon Dynamite. And he's like, hey, Bob with Balls. And the girl's like, oh, let me go get my wallet. And he's like, oh, are you two a thing? And he's like, no, I wish. And the pizza guy's like, oh, man, you gotta woo her, man. You gotta woo that guy. And Bob's like, guy? You mean girl? And he's like, what'd I say? And he's like, you said guy. And he's like, oh. And I'm thinking, this guy is like, he's not all there, but he's really funny. And he's like, yeah, you gotta woo her with rock and roll. And then the girl pays the pizza's like, here, okay, you give me the money and then I'll give you this, but it's missing a slice because I ate it on the way over. And that kind of humor I like. It helps coax out the movie a little bit. And then he leaves, and then Bob is acting all cute, and then he leaves, and he ends up coming back later, and he's playing guitar outside the front, and all the girls are looking out and they're laughing, and so they run downstairs to go meet him outside. And he then, smoke starts to fade into the yard. And then this is where we're introduced to the Hellhound, which is this hellhound that possessed this man, actually. And I thought the boy was going to get possessed in this scene. But the Hellhound forms is running around, and he takes off and he hides. and he actually hides in a chicken coop. And now, my significant other says that of all the characters, this is me. I'd be the one hiding in a chicken coop. A chicken would wander out, and I'd be like, "Come back, chicken, come back in here," which is what happens in the movie. Bob tells the chicken to come back, and he says, "Sorry, chicken," and he closes the door on it, and you hear the chicken get ripped apart outside, and he's just holding his guitar still in this chicken coop. But eventually, there was a very bad scare, and I think what is her name? Kelly, I think. I think it was Kelly, but the Daniela got trapped downstairs in the fun room, and she encounters this TV thing that shows what you're going to do by like 10-15 seconds into the future, and it shows her the phone ringing and Daniela going to get the phone, and it shows her like choking and twitching and coughing all in blood and stuff like that, dying. The phone was ringing at this point, and Daniela goes to get it, but the other girls come downstairs and manage to stop her from getting it, and they run out of the room, and the babysitter, though, is her having an asthma attack. So the Warren daughter goes out to the car to get the inhaler, and now the werewolf is on the car, and it's totally just scratching it to hell and screwing around with her. So then she jumps out of the car and she's running back, and all of a sudden Bob comes in with a guitar and whacks the werewolf like a freaking hero, saves the girl, and then he's standing there with a broken guitar handle, and you see the werewolf starts forming again from the fog into a body and on top of the car, and so he books it somewhere, and then the girl runs inside, gets the asthma inhaler to her the babysitter. But when that had happened, when she ran out to the car to get the inhaler, Daniela had ran to go get her as well, but she stopped and she looked and she saw the girl in the wedding dress up the stairs. And I hate this so much. It's just such a gross form of possession. It happens in all these movies, and I hate it. But the wedding dress woman jumps on top of Daniela, and just this black shit comes out of her mouth into Daniela's mouth, and I hate it. It's so gross, but it makes sense because, Daniela was the most vulnerable out of all of them and wasn't feeling confident about herself, and that's what they target, that's what they want in a host. So now, from what we know, the wedding dress makes you more violent. So when the babysitter does her inhaler thing, and the Warren daughter is with her, and then they're like, "Wait, where's Daniela?" And you can hear her saying, like, "I'm up here, please come help." And the babysitter goes to help. Warren's daughter grabs her and says, or Judy is her name. Judy grabs the babysitter and says, "No, that's not Daniela anymore. I can feel that there's something else attached to her." And stuff like that, like, I feel the goosebumps right now. Like, look at all these bumps on my arm. Holy crap, if you're watching YouTube, there's bumps. If you're listening right now, I'm going to graze my arm. Those are goosebumps right there. You can feel them. They're just like, oh my god. So, yeah, the scene carries on, and they kind of leave Daniela upstairs for a little bit, but they're like, okay, we got to find the Annabelle doll. So, they go off downstairs, and they actually find Annabelle in the closet, and they run in there, and Judy realizes, okay, I gotta start praying, and the other girl goes in there, and this is where they really heavily focus on kind of like the boatman kind of thing, or the ferryman, I should say, where he ferries your souls to the afterlife, takes your souls, and he puts silver coins on your eyes, and we learn that, okay, there is a girl that looks just like this babysitter that the ferryman kind of like really likes, and wants her, so she goes off and she finds the dead body of herself, not really herself, but someone that looks like her, and is holding the Annabelle doll, and she like yanks the Annabelle doll out of her hands, and then you see her copy of herself starts screaming, and you can see the ferryman's like glowing eyes and behind her this whole time, like, and he was terrifying too, because like he's just trying to drag her away, and he's just got a freaky look to him. So she manages to get the doll, throws it back out. Judy gets it, and she's running out. And now there was, out of all the possessed things, there was a possessed board game that they're playing with, and it was on the ground or whatever. And they actually had to get a key out of that to open up the closet door to get to Annabelle. But as Judy is running with Annabelle, Daniela comes into play in the wedding dress and starts trying to shank around, and the babysitter comes in and like fights her off, and then gets knocked down, and the babysitter is about to be stabbed by Daniela, who's gone complete psycho. The Judy is running and gets her leg grabbed by all these hands coming out of this board game, which is freaky. But she then she realizes something. Okay, like my parents, because this is actually in the room of the Warrens, like not their fun room, but their office, and so they have lots of documents and they have lots of like tapes and recordings and stuff like that. And so she gets the idea, like, okay, I'm gonna activate this tape because this tape actually has an exorcism on it that my dad's performing. And I think this was actually a scene from the first Conjuring movie where they're performing it on that guy we learn who is from The Nun. And so the Judy flicks on the camera, and it's aiming right at Daniela's possessed body, and it's just the dad saying, "Demon, be gone, with power vested in me, I now dub thee, to be gone unto this person," or whatever like that. And it started to work. It was working. The technology can do exorcisms. It's at that point where you don't have to hold a cross anymore. I can hold my phone of a priest doing an exorcism to banish the demons out, So this is the stock market, and for the church is gonna just soar with technology here. I mean, But so Daniela basically gets saved at this point, and the babysitter and Judy hightail it off out of there, and Judy is holding Annabelle and is running to the glass cabinet, and as soon as she opens the door, you see that classic demon hand close the door shut. And this is the demon hand that we officially met in Annabelle Creation. Very nasty demon, and so it pushes its hand, closes the glass door, and just totally throws the little girl onto a wall and then starts sucking her soul out, because this is what it wants. It wants the soul. So then as it's doing that, the babysitter comes running in, and as the babysitter's running in, it's like, okay, just get whacked across the room onto a wall, and then this armor that's, for some reason, this Japanese samurai armor has played some significant role throughout the film, but it didn't really feel too heavy or too strong as, kind of an aspect. But it falls down, almost crushing her, and she rolls out of the way, and somehow Judy grabs a cross from behind her and it whacks on the demon's head, burning his forehead, and he lets go. And then the two of them, Judy and the babysitter, go and open the door, throw Annabelle in there, and then they go to shut the door, and it's not shutting, so the babysitter is pushing as hard as she can. Judy whips out her cross and is holding it back against all the demons that are coming now, because they're coming in full force. The bride lady, the werewolf, the demon, they're coming. They want that doll out. And then Daniela just comes running in out of nowhere and starts pushing. They close the door, and as soon as they lock it, everything just stops and disappears. Everything is just calm and collected, and it's wow, they freaking did it. And then all of a sudden, Bob comes running in with his guitar handle or whatever, and he's like, "Hey, you guys okay?" And Judy's like, "Yeah, are you okay?" And he's like, "Oh, there's a werewolf outside." And Judy's like, "Yeah, he saved me from it." And that's when, the babysitter was full head on over heels, and they were cute together. So they became a couple. They waited till morning, and everyone was asleep, but Bob was still awake holding his guitar handle in the chair. And the Warrens get home, and they tell everyone about the Warren. They tell the Warrens about their experience and everything like that. And after that, it shows the girl having her birthday party, and what they thought, she wouldn't have any friends show up. It turns out a lot of kids came to Judy's birthday party, which is good, because it's just the parents were scared of the kids going there because of the controversy that was going on with their exorcism and the public news about the Warrens and such. But so everyone shows up there, and it's all great, and it pretty much ends on a real good note, and I was hoping that this is where I wanted to see the post-credits scene. It would lead into something, maybe another anthology film based on one of these objects we saw in the room, because, we saw so much. We saw some classic objects we're already aware of. We saw a wooden snake, and that was hissing throughout most of it. We saw this crazy piano, which really screwed with Daniela, because Daniela actually had this moment. She was playing the piano, and she thought she was talking to her dad. and then you see the dad's hand place a note next to her hand, and you see the dad's face in the mirror, and she's like, Dad, it's you. And then she turns and you see the dad's head next to her, and the head turns and it's all sad. He's like, you did this to me. I hate you. You should feel guilty. You murdered me. Not helping Daniela's self-esteem whatsoever after what she's gone through. This is again another thing that just totally makes her weak and susceptible to possession. Holy crap, that would really kick the crap out of anyone to have that experience. But yeah, so there was the board game that we also saw. There was a bracelet we saw. Yeah, there were so many different objects. I mean, it would be cool to see more about the Japanese armor if that was possible, but I mean, I can kind of live without it. It's not something I would need in an anthology film, even though it looks cool. But yeah, other than that, it was just a whole bunch of like crazy jump scares, a lot of fun, and a lot of freaky goosebumps moments. And I really liked, how it ended with Lorraine Warren kind of telling Daniela, like, excuse me, this is what your dad said, stop feeling guilty about yourself, and this is, in my way, not my way, but the way I see it, the way you want to do things. If you're trying to reach out to someone and you can't get that closure on your own, do it through a professional who, can handle this kind of thing and is, properly trained on how to maneuver through these kind of things, because, it's a dangerous world out there. And, like she says, knowing that all this bad in here means that there's so much more good out there, it just makes her feel better. And I like how she said that. And she's trying to make Daniela feel better. Like, I once ran away with my boyfriend for 3 days when I was your age, and she's like, well, I let the demon out. And she's like, well, fair point. And then Daniela's like, well, what does your husband think about the boy you ran away with? And then Lorraine is like, oh, my husband is the boy that I ran away with. And I thought it was very cute. These movies end on a really nice, upbeat way. Unless you're Annabelle Creation, that movie ended on a cliffhanger, and it was brutally sad. But yeah, all these other movies like The Conjuring and stuff, they end pretty good. The Nun ended on like a cliffhanger, I guess. But overall, I'm disappointed that they locked me out of like the roll credits cutscene. But this movie, I can't remember what I gave Annabelle Creation, but I'd be willing to give this one probably like a 6.5 out of 10. It's not something you need to see in theaters, but you could go on a cheap Tuesday. If you're looking to get a good scare this summer, go watch it. And there's nothing wrong with, a good doll movie. I feel like I've gotten like my toy overdose, because I accidentally booked Toy Story 4 for this Tuesday, because we do cheap Tuesdays in Canada, and I didn't realize when I booked my Annabelle tickets, like, oh, this movie comes out on a Tuesday as well. So I've double booked my movies. So I had to swap Toy Story 4 for tomorrow, which is the day after I've seen Annabelle, because Annabelle came on the Tuesday, so I'm seeing Toy Story on the Wednesday. And this is the month of toys. I saw Chucky, dolls. All dolls, all day, every day, dolls. Like, holy crap. And most of them are horror movie dolls. It's nice to end this month on a positive, film that Toy Story will be, which is nice. And I know Travis is looking forward to hearing some of my movie theater experiences, because the last time I saw a kids movie was Lego Movie 2, which I enjoyed it. But oh my god, if there's kids farting around in this, I get it, the kids movie, you gotta bring your kids to it, but I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna grit my teeth and be like, okay, the kids are gonna be farting, the kids are gonna be yelling and laughing, but I'm gonna truck through it, because I like Toy Story and I want to support, Woody and Buzz and the whole gang. But yeah, it's nice to finally break free of the dolls for a little bit. And gosh, I'm trying to think what we got coming up. I believe next week we actually have Spider-Man Far From Home review coming. That's gonna be fantastic. Can't wait to see what Mysterio's up to. And I believe that'll be coming probably like mid next week. And then after that, I will actually be putting out not after that, before that, this weekend, I will be putting out a Mario Maker 2 review, probably on the Saturday, so make sure you tune into that. It'll be a great time, lots of stuff, and make sure you tune into our Facebook page, because we got the X-Men poll that is going up there. We're about to go into round 3, which is going to be a great time, and make sure you tune in because we got a lot of really good content coming up. I believe our latest episode of Star Wars: The Clone Wars retrospective just dropped, and we have a whole bunch of more Clone Wars retrospective episodes that are available on Patreon exclusively. There's a whole bunch of other content that is on there, and if you want, it's literally only spare change worth, and you can get tons of awesome content. It's a great deal, and it goes a long way and means a lot to us when you guys donate, because it goes right back into the cast and the equipment. As Travis would say, this isn't our daytime job. We do this all in our own time, and we do it for you guys. We love you guys, and we want to make sure that you guys are getting tons of awesome content, like this cast. I mean, at the end of the day, not everyone will probably feel like Annabelle is a great piece of content, but I like it, and I know there's people out there, you guys, you want to hear a little bit of a review. And so that's why I do it. I like doing these kind of spin-off, reviews for you guys, and I look forward to eventually doing, what is it? It was recommended, fan request to do Dora the Explorer City of Gold, and that is a review that I will be doing. I've not forgotten about that, so make sure you tune into that in August. But until then, find us on all social media: Geekverse Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Podbay, SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, all these places. And it's gonna be a good time. Send us a message. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'd love to hear from you guys. I'd love to message you back if you drop some messages down below. And until next time, I will see you in the search bar. Have a good one.